Hey people, welcome back. We're live with Will Miller, who's going to talk to us about the next civilization, Beyond Earth. Will Miller is the co-lead designer, sorry.
That's right.
on the title. What are you going to show us today?
We've got about a little under 10 minutes of footage to show you today, starting at the very beginning of the game. So what you're seeing here is we've just landed on this alien world. You'll notice there are lots of strange things to check out. We've got an alien nest up here to the north. There are these deep canyons to the west. We're looking at the tech tree here.
That's a massive tech tree.
It's a big tech tree. It's a big departure from traditional Civ, which was a very linear affair, and this is a non-linear affair that reflects the open-endedness of humanity's future. So we're just getting established here. Our small colony will grow much larger in time, but we first have to eke out survival in this very strange wilderness.
There are still different factions in this civilization, just like the previous civilizations?
That's right. There are 8 different leaders. And one of the interesting things about the very beginning of this game is that they show up at different times. So in Civ 5, all the leaders were there when you start. But in this game, you get there first, and they kind of arrive incrementally over about 50 turns. And we did that because we wanted there to be more asymmetry in the game than there was in a traditional Civ. So that has implications for war, obviously, diplomacy, and all of that. So you may see another Civ drop in here in just a few minutes.
So we see a lot of aliens on the map. What do the aliens do? I mean, are they just there as some sort of furniture, or do they attack you? What
Absolutely. Well, they're not there as furniture, certainly. The aliens are like a ninth player, or ninth Civ in the game. They're much more reactive to what you do, and they're relevant throughout the entire experience. So unlike the barbarians in Civ 5, which were an early game roadblock, speed bump, if you will, the aliens, you really have to pay attention to them for the entirety of the game. And you can choose to antagonize them, just blow them up, and they'll respond to you in kind. Or you can avoid them and be a little bit more neutral toward them. They still may take pot shots or attacks of opportunity, but they may give you an easier time.
All right. And then we see some glowing bits on the map. What are those?
So there are a lot of new resources, and I think the thing you're pointing to there is the miasma, which is a toxic gas that inhabits some of the green there. You got to avoid that early game. If you end the turn there with one of your units, you'll take damage. But as you research new technologies, you find different ways to either get rid of it, create more of it, or take advantage of it when you're there. So depending on the tact that you choose, the way that you negotiate the tech tree, you may handle those situations in a slightly different way. So you'll also notice that there are 2 pretty distinctive looking resources there. There's the orange one, Faraxite, which is a superconductor. You need that resource for artificial intelligence and super fast computers. There's also the purple floating rocks. We call those floatstone. Okay. And you can build giant levitating gunships and platforms with that. So LEV technology is pretty important. All of the canyons that you're seeing and the miasma and all of that can be easily traversed with a LEV tank. So
okay, all right. And then they've just found some bones there. What are they doing?
That's right. So our explorer down here has found an expedition site, and you'll find these all over the map. There are bones of large aliens that aren't there anymore, ruins of an ancient civilization that predates your arrival on the planet. And by sending your explorer and digging these sites up, you can get all kinds of different benefits. So it's like a Goody Hut plus plus. It's a little bit better. You have to invest some time in it. But what comes out is much better.
All right. Well, what we see as the aliens, though, are more like animals. Are there like organized alien societies that you meet in the game, or?
There are 2 kinds of aliens in this game. There are the aliens that you're seeing on the map now, and they're more animalistic, and they come in several varieties. There are the fast, sort of sleek-looking ones, or slower ones. They're flying ones. And then there are these giant worms that you may get to see in the video in a little bit. But there are also hints of another civilization that has been on the planet before you, and you'll find their ruins scattered throughout. We call those the progenitors, the progenitor race. And part of one of the ways you can win the game, actually, is to make contact with them, first contact with the aliens. But fundamentally, the game is about humans and what we do on this alien world. It's not about playing as the aliens or anything like that. It's how we as humanity negotiate this new planet.
So how do you evolve? No, I mean, there must be a way of winning the game. So you alluded that you could win the game by talking to the aliens, but what other options do we have
Sure.
to win the game? Is it diplomacy? What is it?
Sure.
How does it present itself?
There are several ways to win the game, and all of those ways are pretty involved. So you have to research technologies and build these buildings that are huge structures that you then must protect and use. They all kind of follow that kind of more involved pattern. The three types of technology victories align with the three post-humanist trajectories, or what we call affinities in the tech tree: harmony, purity, and supremacy. So the harmony player's the harmony player's victory condition is what we call Transcendence, and this is an homage back to Alpha Centauri. So it's when you discover that the planet is sentient, and you research technology and build these giant mind spires, which look like the most crazy jello mold you've ever seen, and to communicate with the planet's consciousness. That's one way to win. Very bizarre.
Yeah, freaky.
The other two technology victories are Emancipation and the Promised Land, and both of these involve making contact with Earth. So when you leave Earth, you don't really know what happened, and you reestablish contact with Earth. You build a warp gate, and for the Promised Land, you actually bring settlers from old Earth to the new world to settle, and you have to protect their settlements from others while they establish themselves. Emancipation is the opposite of that. You build the warp gate.
Whoa, that's a creature.
There's the alien, yeah. You don't want to mess with that thing. So Emancipation, you build the warp gate, and you actually send military units back through it to conquer old Earth. So it's sort of two halves of the same coin. There are a lot of interesting ways.
And there's the third one that you were talking about.
So those are the harmony. Integrate with the planet. Emancipation, Promised Land are dealing with old Earth, and then there's a fourth, which is contact, and this is when you receive a transmission from that progenitor race that you find the vestiges of on the planet.
What you were talking about.
Right. You build this giant beacon. And turn it on, and they make contact with you. It's like the Carl Sagan novel of the same name. So it's an homage to that.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there's Supremacy also.
That's right. So the Supremacy victories is Emancipation, and they're all about survival with tools. So they think humankind, we're tool makers, and we should be agnostic to the planet we live on. It shouldn't matter if we're on Pandora or Venus,
whichever rock,
whichever rock we land on, we should be able to survive there. And they do that by augmenting themselves. And frankly,
robotics and stuff like that,
cybernetics and robotics, artificial intelligence. And frankly, anything that doesn't do that is offensive to them. So their victory is to go back to old Earth and emancipate the populace, to show them the way, if you will.
Become like Borgs, basically.
Right.
That's the objective.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
And as you invest toward these victories, your leader begins to change how it looks, how he or she looks. So you can engage in diplomatic communication with other leaders in the game, and you'll see them trending toward one of these three affinities. So you can see the Supremacy player you'll start to get these attachments on their face, and their costume will change. The Harmony player's skin tone will begin to change, their eyes and their costume as well, and Purity
so they'll
is the
evolve,
same.
yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
And then that's sort of your trigger to say, well, do I want to interact with these guys in a peaceful sort of way, or do I want to just mold them down with my...
That's one of the new vectors for diplomacy that this game has, is if you find another civilization that is investing in the same kinds of technologies that you are, they're trending down one of these post-humanist trajectories like you are, they'll be easier to interact with, whereas one that's different will be a little bit harder. So you have to plan your diplomacy accordingly.
How long is the gameplay now for like a normal player? I would say what is it, 4 hours, 6 hours? Because Civilization games normally are quite long.
They can be very long, and we have the same kinds of game speed options in this product. So you can play a quick, 3 hour or so game on fast with a small map.
All right.
Or it can go, for a very, very long time. But we started with Civ 5's length and have balanced around that. So if you're a Civ 5 player, it'll be analogous to that.
All right, that's pretty good. When is the game coming out?
It's coming out fall 2014 for PC, Mac, and Linux.
And it's going to be multiplayer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Our multiplayer community, I love them. They will play this game in some of the most protracted ways, by email almost, right? or like a hot seat. That's my favorite way to play, is switching the mouse back and forth, playing with your friends. We support these modes.
Okay.
And a lot of the new features we've added can be customized in multiplayer. And that's something that is really, really important to us and to our community.
All right, cool. Well, that's all we have, really.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, man.
It was a pleasure.
It's been really great. Next up, below.